Nancy Drew Mystery Stories, number 17, The Mystery of the Brass-Bound Trunk, by Carolyn Keene. Copyright 1940, Grosset and Dunlap. Chapter 1, A Valuable Gift. Nancy Drew swung her tennis racket into a corner of the front hall. "Any news since I went to the courts?" she asked the housekeeper, Hannah Gruen, who came through the doorway at the moment to greet the slender, golden-haired girl. "Someone telephoned while you were gone. A woman. A very unpleasant person, I must say." "Did she give her name?" "No, she refused, although I asked her twice. She made me understand she would talk only with you. I thought she seemed angry about something." "I can't imagine who it could be," Nancy said, frowning thoughtfully. "I haven't offended anyone to my knowledge. Oh well, she'll probably call later." "I'm certainly glad you're home," said Hannah with a sigh, "because I've been worrying about your trip to South America. You'll never be ready in time to sail. It's a mystery to me how you ever expect to have a trunk full of attractive clothes like the other girls, if you don't even think about them." Nancy laughed, not in the least disturbed by the friendly scolding. "Oh, it will be days before my boat sails, Hannah. It's more important to see that Dad gets started on his trip west. I'm worried about that. He's so serious and mysterious about this latest law case of his. I hope it won't be a dangerous one." For several moments, Nancy stared thoughtfully from the window, then added, "Good old Dad. Well, after he leaves, I'll just toss a few things into a trunk and take off for South America as lightly as a bird." "I wish it were as easy as that," Mrs. Gruen replied, sighing. "We haven't any suitable trunk. You need a strong one for traveling." "I do need a new trunk," the girl agreed, her attractive face clouding. "And you'll have to do a lot of other shopping," advised the housekeeper. "Remember, you'll be with those girls from Laurel Hall School." "I'm not worried, Hannah. My chums George and Bess and I should be able to hold our own with them." "I wonder if the Senora, who is headmistress, will let George be called George," laughed the housekeeper. "She may not approve of a girl who has a boy's name." Nancy wrinkled her nose and smiled, a habit which often won her points in arguments. "We'll see," she said. The attractive girl was the only child of Carson Drew, a well-to-do lawyer and widower who resided in River Heights. Endowed with a good figure, a clear complexion, intelligent blue eyes, and a pretty face, she never concerned herself deeply with her appearance. Yet, in truth, she was excited over the prospect of new clothes and a trip. Nancy knew that she owed the coming voyage entirely to the fact that her father's business affairs required his presence in the West. Unwilling to leave his daughter alone during his absence from River Heights, Mr. Drew had arranged for her to travel to South America with a group of girls from Laurel Hall. Bess Marvin and George Fane, who were Nancy's dearest friends, had persuaded their parents to allow them to accompany her, so the three were looking forward to a pleasant vacation. "I have such a lot of work ahead," Mrs. Gruen murmured. "Your father's clothes must be packed because he hasn't time to do it himself. Then the house has to be cleaned and closed." "I'll help you, Hannah," Nancy promised quickly. "We can work fast once we start. As soon as I change my clothes, we'll begin." She took a shower, put on fresh clothing, and was combing her hair when the front doorbell rang. Mrs. Gruen opened the door. For a few seconds she stared at an object on the porch, then uttered a startled cry. "Goodness me, what is this?" As Nancy hastened downstairs, the woman picked up a large covered basket and started to unfasten the lid. "Someone left this on our doorstep," the housekeeper said, her voice trembling with excitement. Oh, I'm afraid. I just know it's an abandoned baby." Nancy took the container and raised the lid. Then she laughed. Curled inside was a large Angora cat, a blue silk ribbon tied about its neck. "Well, of all things!" exclaimed the astonished woman. "A cat! Isn't it a darling?" Gently, Nancy lifted the pet from its silk cushion. "I wonder who left it here." Quickly, she glanced up and down the street. No one was in sight, but a black automobile was rounding a corner. "I think the basket was left by someone in that car, Nancy. Of all the tricks! What are we to do with a cat?" "You don't look very pleased," chuckled the girl, stroking the animal's soft fur. "Here is a tag attached to the ribbon. Maybe it will explain everything." She untied the string, then read the card aloud. "To Nancy Drew, in gratitude for her help in the past." "Who signed it?" inquired the housekeeper, peering over the girl's shoulder. "No name is attached. It just says, 'A friend.' I guess that's why the machine drove away so fast. The person didn't care to be seen. I can't figure out who would give me a cat, Hannah." "Someone you helped. But then you've helped so many persons. What in the world will you do with it?" the housekeeper asked pointedly. "Keep it, of course. You can tell that the cat is pedigreed and valuable. I think I'll call her Snowball. That would just about suit her, for she's so white and soft-looking. You haven't by any chance forgotten you're sailing for South America in a few days?" "Perhaps you could look after the kitten while I'm away." "Oh, no," interrupted Mrs. Gruen. "I never cared much for cats, and I'll not saddle myself with such a responsibility during my vacation." "Then I'll take Snowball with me." "All the way to Buenos Aires?" "Why not? Snowball would love to travel, I know." "A nice time you'll have, looking after a cat," the woman protested. "But then, if you want to burden yourself, I guess no one can keep you from it." Nancy laughed. With the kitten cuddled on her shoulder, she started into the house, but paused as she saw a large delivery van turn into the driveway. "Did you order something from the store?" she questioned Mrs. Gruen. "Why, no, I didn't. It must be a mistake." Two men came up the walk bearing a good-looking steamer trunk decorated with brass bindings and an ornamental lock. "Shall we leave it here or take it inside?" one of the delivery men inquired. "There must be a mistake," Nancy remarked. "I'm afraid you have the wrong house." "This is the Drew residence, isn't it?" "Yes." "Then we have the right place. This trunk has been marked and can't be returned." On the front, the man indicated two initials, ND, made in brass to match the other trimmings. "That stands for my name," Nancy said in awe. "This trunk must be meant for me. Do you suppose Dad bought it?" As if in direct answer to her question, a car rolled into the driveway. Carson Drew, tall and dignified, walked to the porch. "I see the trunk is here," he observed, stooping to examine it. "Do you like it, Nancy?" "Oh, it's perfectly beautiful, Dad. Did you really buy it for me?" "Of course. Hannah told me you needed one. I had your initials put on it so you'll have an easier time identifying your luggage on the boat. I trust it fits your needs." "Oh, it certainly will, Dad. Thank you so much." "There must be a lot of folks traveling," said the expressman as he moved off, pocketing a nice tip from Mr. Drew. "I wish I was going somewhere myself." "I wish you were," said Nancy kindly, as she directed the men where to set the gift in her room. "Like as not, Nancy will come back with her new trunk full of mysteries," laughed Mrs. Gruen to the girl's father. "Don't even whisper that word in my daughter's presence," said the lawyer, pretending to be stern. I'm hoping she'll have a very quiet trip with no unusual adventures." "Oh, Dad," Nancy said in quick protest as she heard this last remark. "I can't imagine a vacation without a mystery to solve." "Speaking of mysteries reminds me that you could do something for me while you're on your trip," replied her father. "Good. What is it?" Mr. Drew glanced at his watch. "I haven't time to tell you now," he said. "I just ran over here for a minute to make certain the baggage was delivered." "Oh, Dad, it isn't fair to give me a little hint and then not tell me any more." "Come to my office if you have time," the lawyer flung over his shoulder as he walked to his car. "I'll give you all the details there." After Mr. Drew had gone, Nancy and Mrs. Gruen admired the brass-bound trunk anew. They also gave the cat a saucer of milk and were delighted with the animal's friendliness. "Please look after Snowball while I'm gone," Nancy said to the housekeeper. "I must run downtown and talk with Dad." The girl backed her own car from the garage and started toward her father's law office in the business section of River Heights. En route, she paused at Bess Marvin's home to report the 2 splendid gifts, then sped on. A traffic light flashed red. Automatically, Nancy stopped. Scarcely had the wheels come to a standstill when her car was struck hard from behind. There was a loud crash, a crumpling of metal, and the girl was thrown violently against the steering wheel. End of chapter 1.